Thank you for meeting with me virtually. As always, the culture in that fourth grade classroom is unmatched. Students are very clear with routines and procedures, and most relevant to this conversation, they know exactly what is expected of them when it comes to finding evidence in the text. They're actually very strong at it, which takes me to the highest leverage area in this classroom. So, by the end of the lesson, students were expected to find the main idea and use supporting details to write a summary. You'll notice on the IPG that overall the scores are generally high in the 3 or 4 range. However, while the questions were moving students in the direction of identifying main idea and writing a summary, they never actually got there. They never actually hit the demands of that standard, which is why the overall score is lower. All of the questions while they were in the classroom, while they played the TDQ text dependent bingo, were very low level on DOK and Bloom's. Even when the questions were phrased with different stems, they all remained in that recall level of questioning and that level one. So I'll say that even the questions that were disguised as level two, that used words such as describe or explain, there was even a question that asked them to classify something, but the students weren't actually doing that. They were simply going in the text to find the evidence and that answered that question and weren't really doing the heavy lifting. In fact, they spent so much time on this that it impeded their time to actually find the main idea and summarize. So I'd love to work with this teacher on higher order questions that push rigor, critical thinking skills, because these students are definitely ready for it. We can spend less time on those right there questions in the text and focus on, if you look at the IPG, we're going to look at core action 2A. This indicator is really about purposeful questioning. So we want to use the DOK or Bloom's to tighten up the questions so that students are answering questions that are moving them towards identifying the main idea and summary writing much quicker than what I observed. Similarly, on the IPG, indicator 3B will allow them to do more of the heavy lifting. Although they were collaborating and talking, there was very minimal struggle. I would have loved to see them spend the majority of the class time discussing and arguing, let's say, the strongest details to support the main idea. And that came up once or twice, right? But there was not a student led discussion over that. Let them grapple with the main idea. So either whether it's a main idea that is provided or main ideas they develop themselves and work to strengthen, we can really work on those two indicators to allow the students to reach the rigor of the standard much quicker than the 17 minutes of the classroom that I observed. And they actually need to write. They never got to summary writing. And as you can see, that's pretty heavy of an objective. Evidence, main idea, and summary writing, which tells me, and there's evidence in the video, that they've done all three before. So although bingo, TDQ bingo was fun and engaging, we can throw that out. We need to move towards really pushing them towards the complexity. The text had varied syntax, had some advanced vocabulary, but as we move towards a text that's even richer and more instructionally relevant, to something bigger, it'll allow us to get some of those more meaningful and purposeful questions. Perhaps students work in stations. Although they showed proficiency in the majority of the class, pulling evidence from what I observed, if the text is a little bit more complex, perhaps they work in 3 stations, right? An evidence pulling station, a main idea station, and a summary writing station. They're certainly ready for more than teacher led TDQs. And I think that these strategies will get them there. If they're in these stations, they can spend more time on those two indicators where the level of blooms or DOK is moving them on their own towards the main idea, and it'll allow them to debate, discuss, strengthen, revise, and write. And that way they're hitting all the key parts of not only the objective, but definitely of that grade level standard.